Hello my friends, by the end of this video you'll be in love with a car and it might just break your heart. Back in 2021 I spotted a leak about a car that I thought was cooler than any other I'd seen in years, the XBUS. I think I was one of the first people to make a video about this car. In fact, I think my Electroheads YouTube video was the second ever video on YouTube about the XBUS. Now, I don't want a medal or anything, I'm just saying that so that you know I have a shred of relevance. Now the video got 500,000 views and the comments section was a hotbed of excitement and intrigue. Now of course not everybody was a fan of the boxy modular electric camper van, but it certainly had its fair share of fans. The XBUS first caught my attention when I was looking into solar powered vehicles, which in 2021 was still an area of interest for electric vehicles, whereas now we know they're basically only useful if you want to slowly charge your mobile phone. But the main reason I loved the car was the modularity and customization. EVs have provided the chance for a rethink about car design from the ground up. They're basically just a skateboard of batteries on wheels, and what goes on top of that is up to the car's designer. Well, it was until the XBUS came along. Now it was up to me. The XBUS could be configured and reconfigured to be a pickup truck, a work van, a camper van, or even a minibus for doing the family school run. That's if you just ignore the fact that most kids would disown you for turning up in a green shoebox on wheels. Another cool and potentially lethal aspect of the XBUS was that there was no traditional steering column. The steering was completely electronic and digital, meaning it could be shifted from the right to the left of the car very easily depending on where that car was being sold and driven. So it was a bit like a PlayStation controller. Now that does raise the interesting question of what happens if you lose power in the car, and the answer is actually pretty simple. You pray to God, scream, and cry for your mother. All of these different modular passenger configurations and utilities were really cool, but there was something else that really caught my attention. Now, before I talk about that, I have to do a call out for you to subscribe to the channel, so let me just read this. I just want to say thanks for watching my video. If you're enjoying it, please consider subscribing to my channel. It means a lot to me and helps more good people like you see my videos. Or if you're not a good person, please subscribe anyway. I'm not picky. Anyway, back to the video. Electric Brands DE, the company that was producing the XBUS, was offering a base model with 200 kilometers of range that had 8 batteries. But the really exciting thing that caught my attention is that there was a much higher spec model where you could have 24 batteries and get 600 kilometers or 400 miles of range. Now look, we're in the year 2025 now, so 400 miles of range isn't exactly mind-blowing, but what excited me was the opportunity that opened up. I felt like it was a step towards a future where we might own a car, but not necessarily have to own all of the batteries that go inside it. If I could own 8 batteries, giving me 200 kilometers of range for most of the year, and then when I need more, I could drive to an XBUS exchange station, get more batteries, and up that to 600 kilometers of range for my holiday to Slough, then that would solve a huge problem for me, which is that most of the time, we don't actually need all of the range that our cars give us. And all of that additional range comes at the expense of additional batteries, and that makes the car weigh more, which means it's less efficient. It's nowhere near as efficient as the car could be for the daily trips we usually use it for. Now, I get that you need 300 or 400 miles of range for that round trip to see your in-laws once or twice a month, but the rest of the time, if you're driving 5 miles to work, you don't necessarily need that. So I felt like it solved a big problem if it didn't necessarily solve my terrible choice of holiday destination. Slough, what am I thinking? The basic XBUS starting weight was 500 kilos without batteries, and even when you add the basic battery pack in, it was still below 1,000 kilos. Now that's less than the weight of a Mazda MX-5 Mark I, which is basically a toy car. And if you think about, okay, that's going to give you 200 kilometers of range, but then you've got those solar panels giving you an extra, I don't know, 3 miles of range per day? Absolutely mind-blowing. But look, smarmy jokes aside, I felt like this was a really interesting area to be going down for XBUS. And look, I'm not the only one. Thousands of people put down deposits of more than £1,000 to secure their orders, which were due to roll off the production line in 2022. And why not? Its narrow dimensions meant that it was actually classified as a microcar, reducing the tax and insurance costs. And if, like me, you enjoy wasting hours of your time on online spec configurators for cars that you dream of owning, you would have had an absolute field day with the XBUS. You could spec a camper van version, or you could spec an off-road version with a 4-inch lift and cool alloys, or even a pickup truck version with room in the back for your surfboard. It was a lot of fun. 17,000 people put down deposits on the XBUS, paying at least £1,000 a pop. Now, I'm not good at maths, but thankfully I've written down that that's at least over... Oh, I didn't write it down. No, I did. £17 million in revenue. And actually a lot of people put down deposits that were a lot higher than that. So I think it's probably more like 30 or 40 million euros of revenue for XBUS from pre-orders alone. Now, back in 2021, given that I'd made a video that got over 500,000 views and had effectively announced the XBUS to the good people of YouTube, I thought I'd be getting my invite for a test drive any day now. But the days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, and the months into years. Let me tell you people, Electric Brands DE did not make good on their claim that they would be producing the XBUS in 2022. But you know, these things happen with startups. Tesla, for example, have been promising a Tesla Roadster since before electricity was even invented. Now, legal disclaimer, that was a joke. Tesla did not announce the Roadster in the 1800s. There is no need to sue me, or no need for Tesla owners to give me death threats for being mean about Tesla. It was just a joke. Also, electricity was technically never invented. It's a naturally occurring phenomenon. We just learned how to deliver it safely to homes. Thank you, and back to the video. By late 2023, people were starting to get very, very anxious. Facebook groups and forums were awash with people asking other pre-order customers if they'd had any confirmation of when their order was going to arrive, or even if they just had any contact from the company whatsoever. And then, a ray of light. XBUS emailed journalists to invite them for a test drive event across the UK and Europe. Wait, sorry, I'm actually just looking at my emails from back then. It wasn't to drive the XBUS, it was to go and make a video standing next to a prototype model that we weren't allowed to drive. But trust me bro, the car's great, production line works brilliantly. We don't have any financial problems, trust me, bro. You know what, it's kind of sounded like the type of event I might put on if I'd taken people's money and I was struggling to deliver on my promise. I'm not implying anything about Electric Brands DE there, again, no need to sue me, but the event just sounded fishy, so I decided not to attend. And you know what? That decision was validated in June 2024 when the announcement was made that Electric Brands DE had filed for insolvency. A year on from that, and it seems like the XBUS dream is regrettably dead. Forums are still awash with people asking other pre-order customers if they've managed to get their money back and telling their own tales of how they're struggling to get their money back. In fact, it looks as though as far back as 2023, people were sharing stories of how they were trying to cancel their orders and were struggling to get their money back. In a Facebook group called XBUS, I don't ever want to say that word again, one person wrote, "I ordered and paid in 2021 and cancelled in July this year. They responded asking for bank details. Bit strange, but I gave them to them by mail. Been in contact with their client service by phone 3 times now, all very friendly, but still no refund. They told me not to worry, I don't. I just want my 2,200 euros back. Be careful." Around this time, instead of shipping the XBUS around the world, Electric Brands DE were actually just photoshopping pictures of the XBUS into famous cities and tourist attractions around the world. I'm not joking, this isn't a bit, these are genuine photos from their Facebook page. And a year later, amidst growing uncertainty, disquiet in Facebook groups and forums grew. Here's some more comments. "I am planning to register a claim to get back the 2,500 euro down payment. Anyone else?" One user wrote in the comments section of the Electric Brands DE official Facebook page. "I've reached out to that user to ask if they've got their money back, but as yet I haven't had a reply from them." The Electric Brands DE website now redirects to a website about finding the best online casinos in Germany where you can pay with PayPal. And actually, ironically, you may have been better off gambling your 2,500 euros on one of those websites than putting down a deposit on the XBUS. Look, this is very disappointing for all of us who are really excited about this fun little electric car that felt like it had the potential to change the game. But it's even more disappointing for the people that gave Electric Brands DE money and then struggled to get that money back. Now, I don't know the stories of every single one of these people. It may be that everybody got their money back by going through administration, but that's usually a long and stressful process. and it ignores the fact that actually a lot of these people put down deposits in 2021 or 2022, and they've been waiting for the car for years, no doubt putting off other car purchasing decisions in the meantime and probably being put out by doing so. So if you have had a bad experience with Electric Brands DE and XBUS and you want to share your story, please get in touch because I'd love to make a follow-up video. If you haven't got your money back, I'd love to know. It's also worth noting that a lot of car dealerships invested time and money into bringing the XBUS to market and eventually had the rug pulled out from underneath them, which is never fun for a business. So what can we learn from this? Well, there are lots of people out there who have invested in a Kickstarter prototype, for example, only for that product to never see the light of day. This is a cautionary tale about investing your time and emotional energy into something that doesn't exist yet. With cars in particular and big expensive items, it's probably better to see it in the flesh first. FOMO is so easily leveraged as a marketing tool in this day and age, and I'm not saying that's what XBUS did purposely, but it happens to all of us. And actually for me, it was the extensive dealership network that really made me feel like this car was going to see the light of day. But again, follow your gut and just don't invest until you've seen it in the metal would be my advice. My suspicion is that the cost of setting up their own production line in Germany just became a little bit too much for Electric Brands DE. But there is a small ray of hope. Another German brand that are producing or are claiming to be producing a very, very similar looking car called the Tyne E. Now their production is taking place in China, and according to Vision Mobility, the first shipment of the Tyne E cars have actually arrived in Germany, and we've got photo evidence of that, which is quite exciting. After what happened last time, I'm not going to get too excited, but I just hope that with a concept as cool as the XBUS, hopefully it's just a matter of time until somebody resurrects the idea of a cool, boxy, modular electric camper van, because as much as I love the ID buzz, it's pretty massive and I don't think it delivered on the promises of the original concepts we saw back in the day. So a small electric camper van I think is still on the cards, and I think it would be incredibly popular with people who are into van life or just love quirky cars. Like me. So look, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching this video. If you're interested in the XBUS saga, I'm almost certainly going to make more videos about it in the future. I'll definitely make videos about similar cars that are hopefully coming to market. So please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get this one off the ground. It's brand new. If you liked this video, then please give it a like. Drop a comment because I love hearing from you. If you've got any questions, let me know. And please subscribe to the channel. It helps more good-looking, wonderful people like you see my videos. Most importantly, have a nice day because you deserve that. I'll see you soon.